From struggling with his first scene on set to filming under intense weather conditions, getting to play Percy Jackson wasn't easy at all. And these 10 struggles Walker Scobell went through to become the character will blow your mind. Walker Scobell faced many challenges on the set of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, with the first one being that he had to constantly have his body tanned 3 times more than usual. According to Walker, the reason is that his skin reflects light in a way that affects the filming. The actor mentioned a time he particularly struggled with this when he said that he looked sickly pale in one of the scenes, and due to stress, he also had red, puffy eyes, which seemed very bad. But unlike most days where all of these would have been covered with makeup, they decided to leave it. Another makeup struggle that Walker had on set was with his hair. His hair makeup was determined by whether he would be shooting water scenes. With that, a slimy substance would be added to his hair. The slime gave the hair the illusion of wetness, but the real struggle was washing it out after filming. So that means Walker also had to be ready to stay in the water by learning to dive like a professional. And this was a struggle because he wasn't expecting to go to that extent for the water scenes. The young actor said, "There were a lot of wetsuits and gear to keep me cold from being wet, and I don't think I understood how much I would be wet throughout the series." Although Walker had been a fan of Percy Jackson for a long time, facing the reality of what the character went through in his adventure was a shock to him. He also added that he was getting drenched in water in every episode of the series, and most of it came unexpectedly from rain and puddles. The ones he had to train for were also scary, but Walker gave it his all and trained to be a junior professional at diving. So even though the training experience for the underwater scenes was more like a nightmare, the actor walked away with a diver's license as reward. Just as Walker was battling cold on the set of Percy Jackson from Wet Clothes, he also struggled with heat. They shot some parts of the show in Vancouver during summer, and Walker had to be in heavy clothes and armor, which made the hot temperature even worse. Most scenes shot at Camp Half-Blood were challenging for Walker and every other cast member at the location, so there was no in-between for the actor because if rain weren't pouring all over him, he would be deep inside cold water or under intense sun, which was very wild. Another struggle that Walker had to go through to be Percy Jackson was training for an entire month on how to use the swords. Walker was trained consistently, and the show's creator, Rick Riordan, was shocked to see a 12-year-old learn so quickly. Becky Riordan even mentioned that they were advised to choose older actors with more energy and stamina to undergo rigorous training. Still, Walker proved all these fears wrong, bringing more power and talent than expected. Although the training to use swords is vital for every part of the series, as fans could see in his fight with the Minotaur, what fueled Walker's excitement with learning to fight has more to do with his battle with Ares. Like many fans are anticipating this fight between the God of War and Percy, Walker also had his mind set on that during sword training. When they finally filmed the scene, Rick said that Walker had become perfect at swords and that he had to remember to do it badly to play his part in the scene. Then he praised Walker for wanting to be so perfect that he quickly mastered swordplay. However, it was a stressful process, as Walker added that it took a month of learning and rehearsals. But the crazy thing is that he somehow enjoyed the struggle, saying one of the training for the stunts was playing ping pong with swords. It was surprisingly not as hard as I thought it would be. However, the actor also trained on many stunts by using wires for falling, and he achieved this with the help of the stunt team on set. Despite learning to fight, Walker faced even bigger struggles during filming, and one of them had to deal with the filming of the Minotaur sequence. Walker revealed that his challenges with fighting the Minotaur weren't about the stunts or the invisible creature, but had more to do with the weather, as it was raining on set and dark at the same time. So he couldn't even see very well during filming, and he's been told to open his eyes more on camera from previous observations, but that was impossible because the rain wouldn't let him, and the part where he jumped on the Minotaur before finally getting rid of it took 3 days to get filmed due to how long the sequence was. Then another struggle he had while filming the scene was with the sweater he wore. According to Walker, the costume was made from a natural sheep's wool, and the rain almost ruined it during the filming as the sweater started to smell and loosen up due to being soaked and heavy from water. This caused a delay, and they had to remove the cloth and use the second to continue filming while the first dried up. Even though Walker was prepared for most of the fighting scenes, he still got caught unawares in another scene, which was very challenging. The actor revealed revealed that his fight with Dior Goodjohn, who plays Clarice, was a crazy one because it was tricky to film. The fight happened on the sand, and it wasn't convenient to move through that. Also, he had to keep moving backward while Clarice and her cabin members kept advancing toward him, so it was a very uncomfortable moment doing all of that on the rocky sand. However, the way Clarice screamed during their fight threw Walker off balance, and his scared face was a genuine reaction to thinking Clarice would hurt him. Although his reaction made the scene seem real, he struggled with it on set until they finished filming it. However, before Walker started going through the real struggles on set, he had to go through a few during and after his auditions. The first struggle Walker experienced during his audition was the long wait he had to endure. After his audition, it took about a year before Walker got the confirmation that he had been cast in the series. He had to wait the longest among the main cast because his position was essential and had to be sorted before anything else. But even after getting the role, Walker couldn't help but feel nervous with the excitement. So he was scared that he might disappoint the large fan base due to how they hold the series in such high regard. But after Walker finally knew he would play Percy Jackson, he didn't have the time to relax before being immediately put to work. And this had to do with the auditions of the remaining 2 cast members. So, unlike Walker, who got cast directly, the other actors trying to play Grover and Annabeth needed to have a connection and chemistry with Walker before they could get the roles. And that means it didn't matter how good the actors had been since they started the audition process. If they failed to connect with Walker, they would be removed. But to effectively achieve this, Walker had to be involved in their selection process, which wasn't easy but worth it because that would be the first time he met Leah and Arian. So Walker was made to read scripts with all the candidates applying to be his on-screen best friends, and the whole process was challenging. Arian recalled how stressful it was for Walker when he said he was very clearly exhausted. There were multiple Grovers at the chemistry read. The same applied to the role of Annabeth too, with the director following how they all interacted with Percy before finally picking the winner. Even though it was a challenging task, Walker has no regrets and was glad to have the opportunity to spend more time with the Percy Jackson crew. Even though he met and related with the cast and crew before filming started, Walker struggled to get his first scene right during filming. The scene involved Percy and Grover sitting and talking in school while eating sandwiches, and they were required to do something where Percy took Grover's meat and Grover took his cheese. However, this act that sounds so simple took them a week of rehearsal before finally getting it right. But then Walker explained why they struggled with doing that, and that's because it was the first scene to be filmed and they were both nervous. Also, Walker and Arian weren't that familiar with each other until they both had to work through it. But the funny thing is that Walker finds it hard to watch that scene because he feels embarrassed about how he struggled to get it right on set. Rick Riordan repeatedly mentions how proud he is of Walker because the young actor was like a professional on set without getting tired or giving up. But to achieve that, Walker went through another struggle of endurance on set, resulting from his passion for the franchise. Walker consistently worked for 150 days on the set of Percy Jackson, which is quite impressive given that the production days were 160. The showrunner, Dan Schatz, confessed that those days weren't easy on the set when he said they were physical and emotional. We'd go from one thing to the next. One day, you're hanging off of an arch, and the next day, you're on a train telling your personal story of what you went through. So getting to show up for 150 days despite the challenges was a passionate struggle that Walker was willing to see through on set. Share your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching.